In a small village there lived a fisherman called Papa Kwame. Papa Kwame was a kind man, but life had made him very poor. Every morning he went fishing, but every night he came home empty-handed. His family slept hungry and their tears filled his heart with pain. His wife, Mama Efua, would sit quietly, watching their children sleep with empty stomachs. One night, Papa Kwame heard Mama Efua softly crying. "My husband, how long must we suffer?" she asked. Papa Kwame had no answer. His heart was heavy with shame. Early the next day, Papa Kwame went fishing again, but after hours of trying, his nets stayed empty. Sadness filled him, and tears rolled down his tired face. Feeling helpless, he knelt by the river and whispered softly, "River, help me, please. My children are hungry." Just then, a gentle voice rose from the water. "Papa Kwame," it called, sweet like music. Papa Kwame jumped up, afraid. "Who is there?" he asked, shaking. "I can make you rich," said the voice calmly. "Your family will never be hungry again." Hope filled Papa Kwame's heart, but fear followed quickly. "What must I do?" he asked softly. The voice answered slowly and clearly. "You must promise me your firstborn child." Papa Kwame's heart stopped. His eldest child, Ajoa, was his joy, his treasure. How could he promise her away? "Promise me your firstborn." Papa Kwame stood by the river, heart beating fast. He remembered his daughter Ajoa's smiling face. How could he ever give her away? He shook his head quickly. "No, I cannot," he whispered sadly. The river voice spoke again, softer this time. "Papa Kwame, your daughter will never feel pain. She'll have riches too. Your family will eat forever. Just say yes." Papa Kwame thought deeply. Hunger made his family weak, and their cries haunted his dreams. He felt trapped, torn between love and duty. Finally, he closed his eyes tightly. "Forgive me, Ajoa," he whispered painfully. Then louder, he said clearly, "I accept your offer." The voice laughed softly, then disappeared into silence. That day, Papa Kwame's net was filled with fish, big, heavy fish. Gold coins were also hidden in his net. Papa Kwame's heart jumped with surprise and joy, but sadness filled him as he remembered Ajoa. At home, his family jumped happily. They ate until they were full, laughing loudly. Only Papa Kwame stayed quiet, watching Ajoa closely. She noticed and asked softly, "Papa, why are you sad?" He smiled weakly. "Nothing, my child." "Eat well," he lied, feeling deep guilt. At night, Papa Kwame dreamed of the river voice. He whispered in his sleep, "The river's price, the river's price." Mama Efua heard clearly and felt afraid. Days passed, and the family grew richer. Their house was full of food, clothes, and gold coins. Neighbors whispered jealously, wondering how Papa Kwame became so lucky. Mama Efua felt happy but was troubled by Papa Kwame's sadness. One evening, Mama Efua asked quietly, "Kwame, you whisper about a river's price. What does it mean?" Papa Kwame shook his head nervously. "Nothing. Just dreams," he lied quickly. Mama Efua's eyes narrowed with suspicion. That night, Ajoa heard her parents whispering loudly. Her siblings teased her, laughing. "Ajoa, Papa sold. You to the river." Ajoa felt afraid. She approached Papa Kwame bravely. "Papa, tell me clearly, what happened?" Papa Kwame's eyes filled with tears and he whispered sadly, "Nothing, my child. Go to sleep." But Ajoa didn't sleep. Quietly, she followed Papa Kwame to the river. There, she saw clearly her father kneeling and begging desperately. "Please, river spirit, spare Ajoa. I was wrong." Ajoa's heart broke with shock. Ajoa ran home, her heart beating wildly. Tears flowed down her cheeks as she woke Mama Efua. "Mama, Papa wants to give me to the river," she cried loudly. Mama Efua jumped up angrily, eyes wide. "Kwame, is this true?" she demanded clearly. Papa Kwame lowered his head in shame and sadness. Finally, he spoke. "Forgive me, Efua. Forgive me, Ajoa. I was desperate. The river promised riches if I gave up our first child." Mama Efua gasped, shocked deeply. Anger burned inside her. "How could you?" she shouted. Ajoa screamed through tears. "I'll never forgive you, Papa." She ran out into the darkness alone, leaving Papa Kwame crying loudly. Papa Kwame and Mama Efua searched everywhere, calling her name desperately, but Ajoa was gone. They felt lost and broken. The younger children hugged Mama Efua, shaking with fear. Late at night, Papa Kwame returned alone to the river, crying bitterly. "Please," he begged clearly, "take everything back. Just give me Ajoa." The river spirit appeared slowly, smiling coldly. "It's too late, Kwame," it whispered. "She already came to me herself." Papa Kwame's heart nearly stopped as he stared helplessly at the dark river. By the dark river, Papa Kwame stood frozen, fear squeezing his heart. "What do you mean she came to you herself?" he cried out desperately. The river spirit laughed softly. "Your daughter Ajoa has courage, Kwame," it said clearly. "More courage than you. She begged me to spare your family. She offered herself willingly." Papa Kwame felt dizzy with shock and guilt. His eyes filled with tears and he fell to his knees. "No, please, she's innocent," he begged weakly. "Take me instead." The spirit's voice grew serious. "Too late, Kwame," it repeated, "but your daughter's courage touches me. Perhaps I might spare your family after all." For a price, Papa Kwame looked up quickly, desperate for hope. "Anything." "What price?" he cried clearly. The spirit moved closer. "I need the one who truly betrayed your family," it whispered coldly. "You must find this person. Only then will your daughter be free." Confused, Papa Kwame asked softly, "Who could betray my family? We are poor, simple people." The spirit smiled mysteriously. "Look closely, Kwame. Secrets hide clearly within your home. Bring me the betrayer, and Ajoa goes free." With that, the river spirit vanished quietly, leaving Papa Kwame trembling and deeply troubled. He hurried home, his mind racing. Mama Efua waited at the door, tears in her eyes. "Where is Ajoa?" she shouted. "What have you done, Kwame?" Papa Kwame stared at her, words choking him. "Efua, Ajoa gave herself to save us. The river took her," he confessed sadly. Mama Efua's face twisted with pain. Her voice became sharp, angry. "This is your fault. You sold our child," she screamed. "Papa." Kwame felt pain deep in his heart, but he gathered courage. "The spirit says clearly there is someone else who betrayed us first," he said boldly. "Someone here, inside our home." Mama Efua stopped shouting instantly, her eyes wide with shock. "What do you mean?" she asked nervously, stepping back. "Papa." Kwame looked deeply into her eyes, confused and suspicious. "The spirit demands clearly the betrayer from our family," he said slowly. "Do you know anything, Efua?" Mama Efua shook her head quickly, but fear clearly filled her eyes. She turned away sharply, avoiding his stare. Papa Kwame's heart sank with suspicion. Could it really be Efua? Could his own wife betray their family? Pain filled him as he watched her carefully. Silence filled the room heavily. Mama Efua began to cry quietly. Suddenly she whispered softly, "Forgive me, Kwame." Papa Kwame felt his heart break clearly in two. He knew now that the truth was coming out and it hurt more deeply than he had ever imagined. "Forgive me." While Mama Efua's words echoed painfully in Papa Kwame's ears, far beneath the river, Ajoa sat silently. The river spirit watched her closely, surprised by the young girl's calm bravery. "Ajoa," the spirit asked gently, "aren't you afraid?" Ajoa looked up bravely and said clearly, "Yes, I am afraid, but I love my family more than my fear." The spirit felt deeply moved. Never had anyone spoken with such courage. "You're brave, child. But do you know the truth clearly?" the spirit asked slowly. Ajoa frowned softly. "What truth?" The spirit leaned closer and spoke clearly. "Your father was tricked. He is not the first to promise you to me." Ajoa's eyes widened in shock. "What do you mean?" she whispered. The spirit sighed deeply, speaking softly. "Long ago, your own mother, Mama Efua, came here secretly. She promised me her first child. In return, she wanted riches too, but she broke her promise and forgot me." Ajoa's heart nearly stopped. Her mother, betrayed by Mama Efua herself? Tears filled her eyes painfully. "But why would Mama do that?" she cried. "Greed can change hearts clearly," the spirit said sadly. "She wanted wealth, comfort, and easy life. Your father's promise only woke me again. Your family's pain started with her secret betrayal." Ajoa felt deep hurt, anger, and sadness fill her chest. But she took a deep breath, looking bravely into the spirit's eyes. "Spirit, please," Ajoa begged softly. "Don't punish my family. Punish only me." The spirit paused thoughtfully, then nodded slowly. "Ajoa, I offer a new deal," it said gently. "If you live forever with me, beneath this river, your family will be free. No more pain. Do you accept?" Ajoa closed her eyes, feeling deep sadness but also deep love for her family. "I accept," she whispered clearly, tears streaming down her face. At that very moment above the river, Papa Kwame arrived, screaming her name. "Ajoa! Ajoa! Please, my child!" Ajoa looked up toward her father's desperate cries. Her heart broke as she stepped slowly toward the spirit. Papa Kwame saw her stepping into the river. Panic filled him. "No, Ajoa, stop!" he cried, running. "Faster!" Ajoa turned her head one last time, looking clearly into her father's eyes. "Papa, forgive Mama Efua," she called softly. "Forgive yourself. I must go to save all of you." The river spirit gently took Ajoa's hand, and slowly she disappeared into the water. Papa Kwame fell to his knees at the river's edge, screaming and crying helplessly. "Ajoa, come back. Please, my child." But the river was silent. His daughter was gone. Papa Kwame stayed kneeling at the riverbank, frozen. His tears soaked the dry ground beneath him. His voice was weak, almost breaking. "Ajoa, my child, come back," he whispered again and again. But the river was quiet. The spirit had taken her. The deal was done. Mama Efua arrived, running barefoot, her wrapper half-tied. She saw her husband kneeling, broken, and shouted, "Where is Ajoa?" Papa Kwame didn't answer. Mama looked toward the river and screamed, "No! No! What have you done?" Papa Kwame turned slowly, his eyes red. "She sacrificed herself. She begged the spirit to save us all." Mama Efua staggered backward, as if the air left her body. "You let her go? You stood there and let our daughter walk into death?" "I didn't let her. She chose to save us," Papa Kwame shouted, broken. The younger children came running. When they heard what happened, they began to cry loudly. The smallest one, Kofi, asked softly, "Is Ajoa not coming?" "Back, Mama?" Mama Efua couldn't speak. She just shook her head and held the children tightly. Later that day, word spread through the village. Neighbors gathered at Papa Kwame's house, but instead of comfort, they came with anger. "You used dark magic," one man said. You let your daughter die for riches, another woman spat. They pointed, they cursed, they threw stones at the gate. Papa Kwame didn't argue. He just sat quietly, head bowed. He knew he deserved it. He had promised his child. He had failed her. Mama. Efua said nothing either. She had her own guilt locked deep in her chest. That night, Papa Kwame returned to the river and sat beside it, alone. He didn't speak. He just stared at the dark water, hoping maybe the spirit would show mercy again. Then, as the moon rose high, the river rippled softly. The spirit rose from the water, calm and slow. Papa Kwame, it whispered. He jumped up, heart racing. Is she alive? Please, let me see her one more time. The spirit's voice was quiet. Adjoa is alive. But she now lives with me, far below. Yet, she has something to say. Papa Kwame gasped. He fell to his knees. Yes, please, tell me. The spirit smiled slightly. She found something, a secret, about someone close to you, someone who hurt your family long before I ever came. Papa Kwame's eyes narrowed. Who? He asked quietly. Bring your wife to the river, the spirit said clearly. Then you will know. Papa Kwame walked home from the river in silence. His steps were heavy. His heart was confused. The spirit had said Adjoa was alive, but also that there was a secret, a betrayal, and the spirit wanted Mama Efua brought to the river. He reached the compound. Mama Efua sat quietly, her eyes swollen from crying. The children were asleep, curled up in corners of the room. The food remained untouched. Papa Kwame spoke softly. Efua? The spirit spoke to me again. Mama Efua looked up slowly. What did she say? She asked with a shaky voice. Adjoa is alive, but she found something, a secret. The spirit says we must go to the river, together. Mama Efua stood up slowly. Her face changed. Something in her eyes shifted. Why me? She asked, almost in a whisper. Papa Kwame stared at her. He spoke carefully. She says someone close to us betrayed the family long ago. Mama Efua turned away, facing the wall. Her shoulders tensed. Are you saying it's me? She asked, her voice rising. I don't know, Papa Kwame replied. That's why we must go. The spirit will tell us the truth. Mama Efua wiped her face slowly, breathing heavily. Then she nodded. Fine, let's go. I have nothing to hide. They walked together in silence, side by side toward the dark river. The night was heavy. The air was thick. At the edge of the water, the river began to ripple again. The spirit rose slowly, her voice cold and clear. You have come, she said. Where is my daughter? Mama Efua asked firmly. She is safe, said the spirit. But before you see her, truth must come out. The spirit turned to Papa Kwame. You promised me your firstborn, she said. Then she turned to Mama Efua. But you promised her to me long before that. Papa Kwame's eyes widened. What are you saying? The spirit's voice became sharper. Many years ago, when your first baby was still in your belly, your wife came to this river. She begged for riches. She said, "Take my child. Just give me wealth." I waited, but she never returned. She broke the deal. That's why your family suffered later. That's why I came for what was owed. Papa Kwame slowly turned his head to his wife. His lips trembled. Efua, is it true? Mama Efua's face turned pale. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She looked at her husband. Her knees shook, and then she whispered, barely able to speak, "Yes, it's true." Papa Kwame stepped back slowly, staring at her with heartbreak. The spirit spoke again. "Now you know the truth. The true price must be paid. Papa Kwame stood still, his eyes fixed on Mama Efua. His hands were shaking. "You promised our child before she was even born?" he asked quietly, almost like a whisper. Mama Efua fell to her knees at the riverbank. Her tears dropped into the water like small raindrops. "I was young, scared, hungry," she cried. "You had no money. I was carrying a joa. I didn't want to live in shame." Papa Kwame shook his head slowly, still staring. "So, you came here, and you offered our baby to the spirit." Mama Efua nodded, ashamed. "But after Ajo was born, I couldn't do it. I didn't come back. I thought the spirit would forget." The spirit laughed softly. "I never forget. You broke the promise. That is why your family suffered. That is why the sea gave nothing. I came later to take what was mine." Mama Efua looked up at the spirit. Eyes, red and swollen. "Please, forgive me. Take me instead. Let Ajoa go." The spirit stared at her for a moment, then turned to Papa Kwame. "What will you do now, Papa Kwame?" Papa Kwame looked down at his wife, broken and crying. Pain filled his chest. He had once blamed himself. Now he saw the truth. "You were the first to betray our child," he said softly. "But I added to it. I made it worse." He turned away, unable to look at her. "You must answer for what you did, Efua," he said. "I will not defend you." The spirit nodded slowly. "Tomorrow night, I will return. Bring her to me again. Then, the final decision will be made." The spirit slowly sank back into the water, and the river became quiet again. Papa Kwame stood for a long time. Mama Efua remained kneeling on the ground, weeping. They walked home in silence. When they reached the house, the younger children looked up. "Did you find Ajoa?" little Kofi asked, hopeful. Mama Efua looked away. She couldn't answer. She went into the room and shut the door. Papa Kwame sat outside, thinking. His heart was heavy with many emotions: sadness, anger, confusion, and deep regret. The family had broken from the inside. The next morning, neighbors whispered again. This time, they said nothing loud, only silence and distance. No one offered food. No one said hello. At home, the children kept quiet. They sat close to Papa Kwame, but far from Mama Efua. That afternoon, Mama Efua tried to hug them. They pulled away. "We don't want to be near you," one of them said. "You gave Ajoa away first." Mama Efua's heart broke again. The punishment had already started. That night, the family walked to the river again. Papa Kwame held Kofi in one arm. The other children followed behind, quiet and sad. Mama Efua walked at the back, alone. When they reached the riverbank, the water was still. Then, with a small ripple, the spirit rose from beneath. Her voice was calm, but sharp. "You have come, as promised," she said clearly. Papa Kwame stepped forward. "We are ready to hear your judgment." The spirit turned to Mama Efua. "You made the first promise. You broke it. But now, there is more I must show." Mama Efua looked up, confused. "More?" The spirit's voice deepened slightly. "Yes, the darkness in your family is not only yours." Everyone went silent. Even the children looked around. "What do you mean?" Papa Kwame asked slowly. The spirit turned toward him now. "Kwame, do you know your wife's full past?" He frowned. "We met as young lovers. She came from the next village." "I know her." The spirit shook her head. "No, you know only part. Let me show you." The river began to bubble. A soft glow appeared. In the middle of the water, a picture formed like smoke. A young Mama Efua stood in another village, but not alone. Beside her stood another man. This man, the spirit said, was her first love. His name was Kobina. They made a deal together with me long ago. He vanished. She married you. Papa Kwame's heart raced. Why didn't you tell me? He asked, staring at Mama Efua. Mama Efua fell to the ground. I was ashamed, she cried. I didn't know you'd find out like this. I thought it was over. You didn't just hide the promise, the spirit said firmly. You hid your past. You broke 2 vows, one to me, one to your husband. The children stared, shocked. Even Kofi didn't speak. Mama Efua begged again. Please, please, I never meant for any of this to happen. The spirit remained silent for a long moment. Then she spoke. The child you promised, Adjoa, she now knows all. She is angry, hurt, but she does not want revenge. Mama Efua looked up hopefully. She wants healing, the spirit continued. But healing has a price. Papa Kwame asked softly, What price? The spirit looked them both in the eyes. Tomorrow, only one of you can return to this river to receive the final judgment. That one must offer something greater than gold, greater than life. A pure sacrifice. Mama Efua's lips trembled. Which one of us? The spirit turned and began to sink back into the river. Decide among yourselves, she said coldly. But if no one comes, Adjoa will stay with me, forever. The next evening, just before sunset, Mama Efua stood alone at the river. She wore her old wrapper. No jewelry, no makeup, just herself. Tired, broken, and ready. She looked around. No one followed her. Even Papa Kwame didn't come. The children had refused to speak to her all day. She stepped to the edge and whispered, Spirit, I am here. The river moved, then the spirit rose again. Her voice was softer this time. Not kind, but calm. You came. That shows courage. Mama Efua kept her eyes low. I'm ready, she said. Take whatever is needed. Just let my daughter go. The spirit floated closer. Adjoa asked for mercy on your behalf, she said. She still wants her mother, even after what you did. Mama Efua began to cry again. I don't deserve her love. No, you don't, the spirit replied clearly. But her love is your only chance. The water suddenly wrapped around Mama Efua's legs. It pulled her under, but not violently. She sank slowly into the deep. Everything went dark. Then, a light. Mama Efua opened her eyes and saw clearly Adjoa, floating like a spirit child. Her eyes were full of pain, but not hate. Mama, she whispered. Why did you give me away? Mama Efua fell to her knees underwater. I was foolish, she cried. I was young, I was greedy, and I was afraid. But now I see. You were always my treasure. Not money, not anything else. Adjoa nodded slowly. Then show me. Not with words, with action. Suddenly, Mama Efua was back at the riverbank. The spirit was watching her. You were shown your daughter's spirit, the spirit said. Now, you must choose. Stay with me forever beneath the river, or return to your family where they will never forgive you. Mama Efua blinked. They won't forgive me. No, the spirit replied. They will never hug you, never smile at you again. You'll live, but outside their hearts. Mama Efua closed her eyes. Let me return. Let me carry my punishment every day. Let me earn back their love, if I ever can. The spirit nodded. So be it. A flash of water covered Mama Efua's face, then vanished. She stood again, alone, on dry land. She turned and walked slowly home. At the gate, her children were playing, with Papa Kwame. When they saw her, they froze. Their smiles disappeared. She opened her arms, but no one ran to her. She stepped forward. Kofi, Kwame, Essie, please. They backed away. Even Papa Kwame turned his face. Mama Efua stood there, tears rolling silently. The punishment had begun. That night, the house was quiet. The children slept close together. Mama Efua sat alone in the corner, eyes empty, heart heavy. Papa Kwame stood at the doorway, staring out at the night. He took a deep breath, then picked up his old fishing net and left. He walked to the river, one step at a time, not in fear, but in peace. When he reached the riverbank, he called out, "Spirit." "I'm here." The water moved gently. Then the spirit rose, her face calm but curious. "You've come alone, Papa Kwame." He nodded. "You asked for a sacrifice greater than life itself," he said. "I have brought mine." The spirit tilted her head. "What will you offer?" "Myself," Papa Kwame said clearly. "Take me. Let Ajoa come home. Let my family live in peace. I'm ready." The spirit was quiet. "You're not afraid to die?" Papa Kwame shook his head. "I've lived long enough. I've seen joy and shame. I've made mistakes. But if giving my life brings back my child, then it is worth it." He stepped forward. "Take my soul. Take my name. Take everything. Just give her back." For the first time, the spirit's voice softened. "Why do you choose this?" Papa Kwame answered with a broken smile. "Because a real father does not keep his own life if it means losing his child." The spirit looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, the river stilled. "You are a man of courage," she said. "You speak not with fear, but with love." Papa Kwame dropped to his knees. "Then let it be done." But the spirit raised her hand. "Wait." Papa Kwame looked up, confused. "What now?" The spirit's voice was quiet, thoughtful. "Your courage has broken the curse. Not many give their life willingly. For love. That is what I've waited to see for years." Papa Kwame blinked. "What do you mean?" "Your family's suffering was a test of the heart," she explained. "And you passed." "So, what happens now?" he asked. The spirit smiled. "Your daughter shall return. Your life shall continue, and I will rest." Papa Kwame's eyes widened in disbelief. "She's coming back?" "Yes," the spirit said gently, "because your love gave her life again." Papa Kwame broke down in tears. He fell on his face and cried deeply. "Thank you. Thank you." The spirit whispered one last time. "Go home, Papa Kwame. The sun will rise with joy." And with that, she disappeared. The river glowed faintly as the sky began to lighten. For the first time in weeks, peace had returned to the water. As the first light of morning touched the village, Papa Kwame walked home slowly from the river. His heart felt lighter than it had in many years. He didn't know how, but he believed the spirit's words. When he reached the gate, he found the children already awake, playing quietly. Mama Efua sat outside, eyes swollen, still wrapped in silence. They all turned to look at him. He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could say a word, a soft voice rose behind them. "Papa?" Everyone froze. The children turned, and there she was, Ajoa. Her hair was wet. Her eyes were wide. Her skin glowed softly as if she had walked through another world. The children screamed with joy. "Sister Ajoa!" They ran to her, hugging her tightly. Kofi jumped into her arms. Mama Efua gasped, unable to believe her eyes. "Ajoa! Ajoa!" But she didn't run. She stood still, tears filling her eyes. "Mama," she said quietly, "you hurt me. Deeply." Mama Efua knelt to the ground. "I know," she cried. "I don't deserve your love, but I'm sorry. I'll spend the rest of my life proving it." Ajoa stepped closer and touched her mother's hands. I forgive you, she whispered. But not just because you are my mother. I forgive you because holding pain in my heart would only keep me in the river forever. Mama Ifua broke down, holding her daughter and weeping loudly. Papa Kwame stepped forward, his eyes wet with tears. My daughter, I offered my life for you. Ajoy looked at him and nodded. I know, Papa. The spirit told me. That's why she let me go. They embraced, tight, warm, full of the love that had nearly been destroyed. The neighbors slowly gathered outside the compound. When they saw Ajoa alive, they covered their mouths in shock. One of them whispered, "Is that not the daughter who went into the river?" Another said, "She has returned. That family must be blessed by the gods." Papa Kwame stepped forward and raised his hand. "No gods blessed us," he said clearly. "Only truth, pain, and sacrifice." He looked around at the crowd. "Let this be a lesson. Never give away your blood for money. Never break promises. And never let pride stop you from saving your family." The people nodded slowly, touched by his words. Inside the home, Mama Efua cleaned Ajoa's feet and wrapped her in dry cloth. The children surrounded their sister, telling her stories, feeding her, and laughing once again. The home felt full, alive, warm, and outside the river flowed gently. The spirit, now deep below, closed her eyes with peace. "Love is the strongest magic of all," she whispered to herself. Days passed. The village was calm again. The whispers stopped. People smiled when they walked past Papa Kwame's home. Inside, the family was healing, slowly but surely. One morning, Papa Kwame sat outside on a wooden stool, mending his old fishing net. Kofi sat beside him, asking questions, learning. Ajoa walked out carrying a small tray of food. She had joy in her steps again. Mama Efua came out too, her head lowered, but her eyes peaceful. They sat together in the yard, the whole family. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Papa Kwame cleared his throat. "I want to say something," he said softly, "to all of you." The children turned to listen. Mama Efua folded her hands, waiting. "I was wrong to ever make that deal," he began. "Even though I thought I was saving you, I almost destroyed you." He looked at Ajoa with teary eyes. "But it was your love, your bravery, that saved us in the end." Ajoa smiled gently and nodded. "Mama." Ifua spoke next. "I, too, carry a heavy shame. I made a promise when I was young and foolish. I didn't think about the future. I only thought about what I wanted." She turned to her children. "Please, never make promises in darkness. Always speak truth, even when it's hard." The children listened quietly. They didn't say much, but their eyes were soft. Forgiveness was growing. That afternoon, the family sat under the mango tree. They shared food, laughter, and stories. For the first time in many years, there was peace. Even the neighbors noticed. One woman passed by and said, "This family is different now, stronger." Another said, "They lost everything and found something greater." As the sun began to set, Ajoa sat beside her father. Her voice was quiet. "Papa, what do we do now?" Papa Kwame looked at the sky. "We live," he said. "We work, we forgive, and we stay together." Mama Efua came and placed her hand on Ajoa's shoulder. No more secrets, no more pain, just love. The Hiti family sat close as the evening breeze danced around them. Back at the river, no spirit appeared again, only the water, flowing peacefully, as if it, too, had let go, and as the stars appeared in the sky, a soft voice echoed. Not to the ear, but to the heart. True wealth is not gold. It is love, truth, and a family that stays together.